Wonder Tribe, what is up? Today we have a video about the 4 pillars of mental toughness that can make you unbreakable. Starting off with number 1, we have competitive drive. Now, we all like to compete, but who are you competing against? Is it against someone else? Because I believe the number one way to raise your competitive drive is to compete against yourself. Now, why do we want to compete against ourselves? Because if we can show up every day and compete against ourselves to be the best version of ourselves every single time, then we're going to win the day. And then over time, we're going to become better and better and better. And it's not dictated on somebody else, right? When we compete against other people, we're always worried about winning. We're always worried about the results. We're always worried about something that may even be out of our control. But that's the key. If we can keep our competitiveness on ourselves, we end up doing more because it's no longer about winning or losing in that competitive sense that we can't control. But it's about that winning in that way that we can control. Now, for example, if I'm playing somebody one-on-one in a game of basketball, right? Most people think, oh, I have to beat this person. I have to beat this person in this game. If not, then they're better than me and I'm not good enough, right? Now, what if we walked into that game and said, you know what? I'm going to try to be as efficient as possible and play the best game that I can play. So doing that inadvertently takes your attention away from the result and onto the process, right? Because let's play a game within a game, right? So instead of saying, okay, I have to beat this person to 21, let's say I have to get to 21 in as least shots as possible. That's challenging yourself. Now we can take that and put that into every other aspect of our life. Showing up for school. Maybe instead of worrying about your grade on a test, you just worry about being the best version of a student you could be. So studying hard, making sure that we're going to try a little bit harder to retain some information. Maybe even in an acting class. This is my field of work, but going up there and just saying, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself to be more present. And then eventually, once you learn how to compete against yourself, you start wanting to seek out other people so that you can make this new competitiveness to where I'm competing against myself, but I'm also competing against or using the other person to help me compete against myself in a better way. It's very interesting how we can do this, right? So going back to basketball, right? If I'm playing somebody else, I don't want to just play someone who isn't, on the same level as me. I actually want to pursue someone who's on the same level, if not better, because that's going to challenge me to compete against myself in a more efficient way. So, what's my number 1 takeaway from this pillar? Reframe your thinking. Stop competing against everyone else, but instead compete to be the best version of you. If you can do this every day, you will then develop the competitive drive to want to collaborate with others so you can compete against yourself in an even better way. That's pillar number 1. Let's get into pillar number 2 right now. All right, now for pillar number 2, we have our levels of confidence, right? So the first level, this is the level that everyone is usually at, shaky confidence. Now, why is it shaky? Because it's dependent on a feeling. When you have shaky confidence, right? It is when things are going really well for you, you are really confident. So if I'm, doing something and I'm flowing and I'm like, playing in the game, right? I'm scoring, I'm confident that day. But if I play in the next game and I miss a couple shots or I'm not doing as well as I thought I would, my confidence drops. That's why it's shaky. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. That's level 1. But what we want to try to do is get to level 2, which is stable confidence, right? Stable confidence is important because what stable confidence is that it puts you where the confidence and the feeling doesn't matter. You go from thinking that confidence is a feeling to confidence is an action, right? We're going to feel the butterflies, feel the fear, fear the anxiety, and do it anyway. Most people think that confident people don't feel these negative emotions. That's not true. Everyone feels the same exact emotions. Everyone feels the butterflies. Everyone has the nerves. Everyone gets, the sweaty and, they have those second thoughts. But the difference between someone who is confident and stuff and someone who isn't is that they end up taking action. All right. So they end up taking the confident action. So this is super important because we need to pierce past the illusion that everything is just a feeling. Taking confident action is a practice is a skill that can be developed over time. We can learn how to be more confident in our actions. We can learn how to be more, say, you know what, I'm gonna feel this and I'm gonna do it anyway, which leads us to the third level is supreme confidence. Now, this is the same exact way as the first pillar, right? When we rep out stable confidence so much, we end up seeking things that make us more uncomfortable, right? We end up going after situations and circumstances and opportunities that are going to give us those butterflies, give us those uncomfortable feelings, and, just make us, go out and on that uncomfortable limb and have to really take that confident action. For example, a lot of guys struggle with girls, but the difference between someone who can go up to a girl and not is they feel that fear and do it anyway. But to get to that supreme level, you just rep it out, and then you end up wanting to go talk to girls that you deem really attractive. You end up wanting to go put yourself in those social situations where you're going to feel anxiety, where you're going to feel fear, but you're so confident in that stable level that you start understanding that you need that collaboration of challenge to get to that supreme. Now, rep it out. Big takeaways, rep it out. That stable confidence. Retrain your brain to think that confidence is an action, not a feeling, so that over time you can end up getting to that stable level. So let's get right on to our third pillar of mental toughness. Okay, for our third pillar, we have staying in the present, your laser focus, right? So this pillar consists of being where your feet are. Now, why is this important? Because so many times we feel so much anxiety and fear because we're too far in the future. We're always thinking about what could go wrong, what could happen to us, all these different things that could throw us off our tracks. And then we can also live in a state of regret, living too far in the past, right? And not to say that it's good to just never do these things. But when you're dealing with mental toughness, the best thing you can do is be present, because the only moment that exists is the now. How do you get ready for the future? It's the steps that you take now. How do you fix the mistakes that you made in the past? You adjust from the things that you made in the past in the now. So we have to really learn how to be better in the present moment. Now, you can practice this, do some mindfulness breathing techniques. What I like to do personally is I like to set a timer for 5 minutes, and it's just an awareness breathing, right? So I'm focused on my breath. So I take a good big inhale and I exhale. So the trick is you want to focus on your breath for as long as possible, right? So every time you take a breath, you're trying to focus on that breath over and over and over again. But the kicker is everyone, no matter who you are, is going to lose focus. But the key is to acknowledge when you lost that focus and bring it back to the breath. So you're going to breathe and breathe and breathe, and you're going to get distracted. You're going to acknowledge that breath, that thought, the idea, whatever pops into your head, and you're going to Look at it gently, and then gently bring your focus back. So what this trains us to do in our everyday life is it helps us to, when we're not focused, we can figure it out and gently come back to the present moment. When we are too worried about the past or too worried about the future, we can acknowledge and go, okay, I'm not where my feet are. I can take myself and gently bring myself back. So we got to rep this out over and over and over again. And I'm going to bring it back to basketball again. That's my sport. How many times have, we've done something in a game or even in our everyday life where we messed up and we keep beating ourselves up about it. We're like, man, I should have done better, or I should have studied harder. I shouldn't have made that pass. I shouldn't have missed that shot. Well, this is where that practice comes in. We can take that awareness of like, okay, we are in the past. We can't change it. Let's come back to the now and let's let it go gently. Or how many times have we been like, man, like I'm so nervous for this game or this test or this opportunity that I have. Same thing. Just take that focus and bring it back so we can prepare. So when these opportunities come, we're ready to take them on and we're not worried. What is there to be worried about in the present moment? Because all you got to do is just go out there and try your best. So the big takeaway from this pillar, let's try to learn and train how to, when we're not in the present moment and where our feet are, when we are too worried about the past and we're too worried about the future. So if you can master that, you master the 3 pillars, and let's get into our final one. All right, so for our final pillar, we have what we call win. Win stands for what is important now. So this pillar is big on focusing on what you can control. If you cannot control it, we have to let it go. A big component of this pillar is next play speed. So we have to win. We have to focus on what's important now. So what is important now? The things that we can only control in the moment, and that's our confidence, taking confident action, our focus, who we competing against, and being in the now. Every day we have to take a step and try to win, and just focusing, like I said, focusing on those things that we can control. How many of us get caught up in so many times where we are harping on stuff that we can't change, or we're worried about stuff that we have no ability to control? So for example, results are not in your control. No matter how hard you prepare for something, you never know exactly how something is going to go. You can study for thousands of hours and still fail a test. You can practice for thousands of hours and still not perform well in a game. It's not in our control. But what we can control is our performance inside of it, which is just giving our best. And then we can control how we react to the situation after the fact. I really like this pillar because so many people love to beat themselves up. So many people love to just harp. But at the end of the day, what can you do about it? We don't have time machines, right? We can't just, hop in a room and be like, all right, guys, well, I'm gonna go change it and get a better result. No, we try our best, and then we live with the result, and we live happy with the result, knowing that we did the best that we could. Can we win a lot of days? That's my question. Can you win day after day after day? Can you keep a positive mindset? Can you stay in the now? Can you just be a little bit better than you were yesterday? And then can you really focus on competing against yourself? And now, if you can win majority of the days of the year, so out of 365, if you can win 365, 355, even 300, the progress you're going to make in that year is going to be exceptional versus if you just keep beating yourself up and keep staying in the past. So remember, you have to win. But winning does not mean the results. Winning is focusing on what you can control. Keep a good attitude, stay focused, compete against yourself, and take confident action. Now, I really want you guys to take these pillars and use them to change your life. Wonder Tribe, this is for you. If you learned anything from any of these pillars, give me a like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me which one you are going to implement the earliest, or if not all of them. So, thank you guys. Before we end this video, I have this quick little acting scenario I want to show you guys, and I'll see you soon. You know, I really believed you. I really thought that I was going to be stuck, being held back by this damn emotion. But you're wrong. I conquered this. These butterflies, these nervous feelings that I always would get, I changed them from anxiety to excitement. So yes, I started with being way behind. But that thing that set me back has pushed me forward. That anxiety gave me success that no other emotion could give me. So thank you for telling me that. And thank you for fueling my journey.